So let's get to the mail. First one's from Giuseppe Morgante. This is a weird one. Hi, gentlemen. Last week's Impact Wrestling went back in time to the 80s and brought back their IWPF promotion gimmick. They have a studio wrestling setting, and even the refs and announcers look the part of times past. The show is filled with fun gimmicks and old school shenanigans. What stood out is the brief appearance of wrestling architect Bill Dink. I believe you are at minimum the co-creator of such a gimmick. Were you informed? Did you give them permission? If not, would a lawsuit be impending? Or worse, would you add them to the list? Thanks, and that's from Giuseppe Morgante. I've been on record repeatedly. Tell everybody, Joe, tell everybody the Bill Dink story. Whose idea was Bill Dink?
So from what I understand and from what you've said, that was Terry Taylor doing little word combinations like humorous.
100%. And
Bill
Terry
Dink.
Taylor would readily admit it.
Yeah.
Okay. And we even had Bill DeMott on the show to reiterate because he was Hugh Morris, and he reiterated that was Terry Taylor's gimmick, play on words and stuff and all that. He agreed. He confirmed, it was Terry Taylor's idea. But I
heard that. Because I had heard that the brainchild of Bill Ding and Al Borson were yours and his. That it was like a co-op, like abortion.
Making that up. I was on board with Bill Ding, but I liked the evil architect, Doug Hole and Artifact. Artifact
were great.
And Doug Hole, the evil architect.
Those are great brainchilds of your disco. But all that in the Invisible Man comes from the brainchild of Disco Inferno. I would like to say that Bill Ding was played very, very well because he looks like one, and I actually referred to him as such in a promo when he was part of the North with Ethan Page, Josh Alexander. I referred to him as a lumberjack and a gnome, as he looks at like both.
But let's get back to the question here. What do you think of them doing these 80s style stuff at Impact and everything?
It's funny.
I mean, it's funny, but honestly, it's like this isn't. They're not. If you're going back in time instead of like trying to evolve or come up with something new, I don't know.
What's once a year?
It's entertaining.
I'll give you an example. January 6th of next year. AAA is doing a show, and it's all guys from this era against guys from kind of like the era right after me, right? And the tickets are doing really good because nostalgia sells. So once a year, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah. So let me see here. The next one is from Hank Beanie. Subject is Arn and Tully. Hey guys, Tully Blanchard wanted WSI and talked about his time at AEW. He said during his entire tenure in AEW, no wrestler ever came up to him or Arn Anderson for advice. Why is Tony Khan bringing in all this experience when none of the younger guys are using them? Handsome Hank. P.S. A lot of people have been asking, what is Mike Durbin doing trying to charge over $600 for a Conan figurine? Is that accurate, Conan?
I don't know about this.
$600?
What happened was Mike.
Yeah, you got to defend. That's your get my go, buddy, Joe. You got to defend this.
Mike's got a website.
Okay.
He put up a website, and let me just confirm. I think
he's suspended for the month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to get back on, and he's trying to say that when he came on the show and he said hi to Meatball, which is my dog.
He was talking to a dog. Yeah.
That you thought it was you. Okay.
Yeah, you thought it was an Italian slur.
Yeah, I think it was too. But I will say that if Joe is selling this for $600, he's much an opportunist, kind of like you, Joe, who you like to go try to get lucky in Atlantic City and with cryptocurrency. I'm glad that did bad. Work hard, because you told me you have. I'm glad you got scammed because you're always looking for the easy way out. Work hard, like you told me you have stock in WWE. Is this correct?
Yeah.
Okay, like
it's a
that,
good time,
right?
Yeah.
Yep. Right. So you're always trying to get, and I just think that Mike Durbin is looking for a sap, like the guy that sent Jeff Lynch or whatever his name is, Vince Russo, Jeff Lane, a laptop, which got Joe hot, and he said, "Well, if he gets a laptop, I should be able to get something." And he's been trying to somebody get this Joe Disco to pay him a $400 anthology series of Guns N' Roses, and I'm glad nobody's done it. And
no, nobody's done that. I get a book or a movie occasionally or a game, but the thing about the figure, it's MikeDurbin.com for the young man, and no, that's just a placeholder price. He set it up and he had to put a price in, and it's
why
not
doesn't he
real.
put the actual price instead of putting a price that's going to scare people away?
I have no idea. I have no idea, to be honest with you. But
okay, Mike, you're still suspended, and because he asked me to ask you to bring him back on the show, but after this letter, I concur with your suspension. I'm going to add a week to it, and this.
All right, let's get back to the. Tully said nobody ever came up to him and asked for advice, him or Arn.
Bro, that's stupid. If you're in the wrestling, well,
obvious.
Yeah, but it's stupid because if you're already in the dressing room, you don't have to look for him, you don't have to call him. Bro, I used to have to get guys drunk in Mexico, old timers, so they would shoot me shoot holds, and and that's what I did. But you have them in the locker room, sit under the learning tree. There's no substitute for experience. You're gonna learn something. But I think that we get to a point where young cats think, that old guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Time has passed them by, and the old guys are like, guys, they don't know what they're doing, and nobody's talking. Yeah, can you believe this guy with the red hair? Yeah.
I'm gonna save this. Joe, remind me this Michael Kohutek email to read for the sports, because we'll just do that in the sports, even though we already talked about it. So, but we'll bring it up again in sports. Next one, Ryan DeMott. Subject is Nigel.
Why don't you answer it and put it on the sports?
No, we're just gonna we'll talk, because I'm gonna open the sports with this quick. We're gonna talk about the college football stuff again. So, next one, Ryan DeMott. Subject is Nigel McGuiness, hypocrite. Is Nigel McGuiness a hypocrite for working for a blood and guts company that allows wrestlers to drink blood? He was the #1 wrestler against blood, blading for years, and he's making a documentary about the hazards of using blood. Now he works for and says nothing about the only wrestling company in North America that uses blood on a regular basis. Thanks, Ryan. Hypocrite? Absolutely. I mean, you can just based on the definition of the word hypocrite, I would say absolutely yes. He's a hypocrite. Bro, everybody in AEW is getting paid bank.
Well,
so
you know what
happened.
Like
to speak up and everything, and I heard their morale is.
That's very true, bro. Everybody there, it says, I'm not gonna say anything because I'm getting paid, and this is from staff and wrestlers, and this ain't hating. This is stating.
Dude, you don't want to.
And it's not even secret anymore. But anyways, let me just say this about Nigel McGuiness.
I work at a club that I get paid handsomely for. I would not even think of publicly burying my employers when I disagree with something that like one of their policies. I won't even think about it because I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to. They pay me good.
But in wrestling, it's been demonstrated in many cases where if you go on social media and you press them and you drag them and you get people to agree with you, they'll acquiesce a lot of times.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You're absolutely right.
Now, let me just say this about Nigel McGuiness. I think I've met him before, but I will say I didn't even know the story about whatever you're talking about, blading and all that. But, bro, as we've seen, money changes a lot of people's ideas and values in sports, wrestling, life. You know what I'm saying? Do you know about this, Joe, this blading thing?
Yeah, well, what happened was Nigel at one point tested positive for hepatitis B. And it got him pulled from the ring in Impact at the time. And then, I don't think he's wrestled since. He might have had one retirement match or something. But so he was really campaigning back then against blading and bleeding in the ring and all that stuff. And this guy's point, I guess. And
now he's commentating while they're bleeding. Right. Well, money solves all those problems.
Yeah, come on. Guys got it. Everybody's got to eat. You're mentioning AEW staff and stuff like that. Did you see that they let go of Kevin Sullivan today?
That's the producer.
I heard about that yesterday. Yeah, the producer, Kevin Sullivan, who very nice guy, very professional, very hard worker. I would really like to know what happened there because that's a hard work.
I would think it probably has a lot to do with the fact that they don't have production meetings would be one of the major issues.
It says here, and it's been reported.
What is it?
Sullivan-
Okay, who's reporting this?
Meltzer. This is Meltzer's report.
Okay, right.
He said Sullivan is said to have built the entire AEW post-production team based in Nashville, instrumental in video packages, vignettes, and YouTube. Meltzer's report also says there is, quote, a lot of questions going around, end quote, regarding the exact reason for his dismissal.
Could he be going to WWE?
Or him and Tony just probably, bro. Things are collapsing over there. There's like a lot of negative stories coming out, and guys are quitting.
What's the biggest one you're hearing?
Well, we have QT Marshall and Kevin Sullivan. There are two people in producer roles
behind the scenes, right?
Behind the scenes that quit within 2 weeks.
Right.
I mean that there's obviously a difference of opinion on things. And you're looking at the ratings, you look at the way the show is produced, you're looking at the, like they're doing a lot of stuff that everything's flat. And a lot of people are a lot of people that work there are bailing on the product, which is very clear, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the dirt sheets cover this, because they've been promoting these companies for a very long time. And even through their faults, which they've refused to cover, if like Meltzer, Sapp, and like all these guys wouldn't have been when during a week where a show is obviously flawed, right? And then we point out the mistakes and stuff, everything. But these guys are still talking about, well, hey, it was a good show and stuff, everything. And we're talking about a lot of the mistakes they're making. If more people would have been, holding, like you talk about the press, holds people to account. If people would have been more critical of Tony or the product during the periods of time when the product is obviously, I don't want to say failing, but it's not growing at all. And people are pointing out the reasons, but the dirt sheets kind of are not really kind of into criticizing them that much. They still want to be their friends. They still want to be in the scrums. If they're scared, if they criticize the product, that maybe they won't be in the scrums. Bro, what they need right now is they need help. Tony cannot, bro. Look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're right in the middle of the playoff race. Fulham, has a shot to get in Europe, getting European competition, with their record right now. Tony's trying to produce all of the shows and write all the shows by himself. And you get to tell, even Dave knows this and should know this. In the history of professional wrestling, there's never been a booker that's been given that much to do that you would think it's going to come across successfully. And I think that Dave is not, maybe he's whatever his relationship with Tony is and stuff. He's critical of them.
He's critical.
But bro, this is the main criticism. Tony needs to be called out, dude. You need assistance. Period. You can't convince people that you're working with, the wrestlers, the producers, everybody in that company. You can't convince them that have been in this business for 10, 20 years that you can write all those shows by yourself. You can't do it. And think that the product is going to come across successfully. You need assistance writing the shows. You have creative people there. You got Sanjay, you got Jay Lethal, you got Jeff, you have a lot of creative people around you. Okay? And the word coming out of there is that you don't want to listen to people. Right. You need assistance. Like Vince Russo and Ed, when they came to WCW, they left WWE because they were trying to write SmackDown and Raw. They added SmackDown. They gave them an extra show. So when Vince came here, him and Ed started off, and all of a sudden they said, hey, we kind of need more voices in the room. This is a lot of work. He got Terry, he got me, Fit Finley came aboard. It's a need more.
Don't forget Bill Banks, the
Bill Banks, right?
The original Joe Feeney, Bill Banks.
I was just saying, Bill Banks is. Yeah, I want to be the next Bill Banks.
You kind of look like him, just to tell you the truth. Go ahead.
Any booker would tell you that writing 7 hours or 6 hours of television, 5 hours of television a week is a good 60-hour week job.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And then, and that's the problem with that company right now is until Tony finds out, okay, all right, Sanjay, you write Collision, you and Jimmy Jacobs, so until that happens.
And let me give you a good example of that. So Eric said one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was taking on Thunder, but the money was too good, right?
Right.
Now, he professes to be a student of the game, Tony, and he says, I'm not going to make the same mistake WCW does. And then he goes out and he gets 2 more shows, right? Because probably the money was too good. But you need help, dude, because I'll give you an example. Right now, they want to do this thing in AAA. It's like this revolutionary thing that they want to do this other show. And I'm like, bro, I need help, and these are the people I need, right? And I've talked to Disco about this because he knows who I've been talking to. And, bro, instead of sending me help, they want to send me somebody to train. I don't want to train anybody, bro. I know who knows how to do this, and they can help me now. I don't have time to be training anybody because they're going to give me a second show, and I already know it's going to be too much for me. My ego is not, I'll take on 2 shows. No. I'm like, get me help, and I'll be the lead writer, and I'll make sure everything goes smooth. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's
so
like you're telling me
I know what you're
train
talking
somebody.
about.
That's
right.
The time it takes to train somebody would be the time it takes just me to do the other show.
Right. What if this guy leaves? What if this guy leaves? And I can't train somebody in a year to learn everything I know. It takes years, bro. You got to be there. You got to be hands-on. There's no course. You know what I'm saying? So, but I want to say this. I think at the beginning, Disco, getting back to your point, at the beginning, the WWE product was so bad before AEW started that people were rooting for them, right? And they almost made their own competition. And so I think they were getting a pass by Meltzer and I guess the other guys, I don't read them.
Because competition is good. Nothing wrong with
it. And the honeymoon period, hey, this is new. They're getting in new wrestlers. Let's support them. Yay, you know what I'm saying? But now you're seeing a lot of people starting to see the same holes that we're seeing, and they're starting to critique them. They're not holding their hand to the fire as much as they should, but they are starting to critique them. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought it was a big thing when they asked David, hey, it's your award. Who would you pick as Book of the Year? And he put Paul Levesque. You know what I'm saying?
But that was obvious. Yeah. That community is very weird. There's still like Dave's readers. Bro, did you see that they just came out with the rest of the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
So pull up the Hall of Fame, who they vote. Like Roman Reigns didn't get in.
Yeah.
Right.
And like Randy Orton was like, okay, Randy Orton was number 1 amongst former wrestlers, like that voted. And like number 8, like altogether.
Right.
Like the people that like the former rep people that have been in the business and everything know who the Hall of Famers are. And like the dirt sheet community, they have this weird sensibilities of like who they think are like the best wrestlers ever,
I'm kind of old school, and I know you'll probably disagree with me on this, Disco. Mm-hmm. I just feel people should retire so we can look at their whole career before we put them in the Hall of Fame, not while they're active.
It's like, what if these guys? What if one of these guys gets a charge?
Right.
This guy's in the Hall of Fame, right? Yeah.
Or does a Chris Benoit? It just goes nuts, right? You don't know.
Or Trump.
Right.
Trump's in the rest of the WWE Hall of Fame.
He's tremendous. Yeah. That's tremendous to me.
Yeah. Next
Go ahead.
Next is some Jason Turpin, some of his language barriers. Hey guys, Conan often talks about the differences in American lucha styles. What about the language barrier? When guys like Vikingo and Kenny Omega wrestle each other, how are they able to lay out their match and call spots when they speak different languages? Disco, did you have any difficulty working with the lucha guys at WCW? I remember a real awkward match between Super Colo and Scott Hall. It looked like 2 homeschool teens trying to dance. Thanks. That's what Jason Turpin. P.S. Disco, quit hating on Bryce Young. The Falcons have a job guy as their quarterback. Where do the Panthers get weapons? Okay, let's suspend this guy. Okay, I'm hating on Bryce Young because he stinks. Okay, and the Falcons are in first place. So let's give a red card, 1 week suspension. Wow. Jason Turpin. Yeah,
Turpin.
Okay, well, when
your
we worked,
quarterback isn't exactly killing it either. Riddler or whatever, Ryder.
no, he sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the
Okay.
team is like we're in a division, so we're going to get in the playoffs, hopefully. So,
Right.
but and then we'll lose to the Cowboys at home. It's like if we get in, it looks like we're going to play the Cowboys or the Eagles at home in the playoff game. So figure out how that's going to go, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so Conan will reiterate this: when the Lucha guys were all in WCW, there was only a handful of them that didn't speak English. Like that, you just had like the Mexican wrestlers that spoke English would come over with you and help you lay out the match. They would the Mexican wrestling community
would be me,
were helping
or would
each
be
other
Eddie.
out. Right?
Yeah.
Yes. You're always helping each other out.
In
Right.
AEW, Vikingo and Omega, Angelico, who was trained in Mexico, he translated for them. You know what I'm saying? I translated for them in Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah, so you just figured we have translators there, but obviously because like half the Mexican guys speak English. So
I just want to say one thing about Bryce Young. He is a rookie. That is the hardest position in football. And if you look, and he's a Philly boy, Joe, by the way. But anyways, he's a Philly boy that later moved to California. He was like the player of the year because I remember him as a high school player. Alabama broke all the passing records. So he's at every level done well. You know, I would give him another year before we call him a bum. But go ahead.
right. Well, he needs another receiver. He's got like old man
That for sure.
This is like
sure.
that guy. Right?
Yeah.